get ready because everything is about to change. There's a new way of living life and doing business that will blow your mind. This is a podcast all about the timing of life and the timing of success. It's what we call the Right on Time life. And you are listening to the Right on Time podcast with Amber McCue. You know, I talk about right on time, but right on time is living and breathing in my life. And hopefully you're starting to see elements of right on time pop into your life as well. And today's guest is someone I met in an unexpected right on time moment. Amanda Lynne is a kinesiologist from Eye-Motional Processes.com. And I met her in a planathon workshop last year, and she came into this small group space and blew our minds with her ability to tap in intuitively and through the processes she's going to talk about in this episode to what was happening in each individual person's life in this planathon workshop, and to help us identify how to unlock things that were keeping us stuck and manifest what we wanted, what we want, and what we desire faster. We're going to break down how all of this works in this episode on the Right on Time podcast, where we're going to talk about how to rewire your brain, shift your emotions, what is energy, and how do we harness that to step further into what we want. It is practical, it is productive, it is based in science and research, and I don't always understand it all, but I'm telling you, it works. I use this, I practice this on my own, and I cannot wait to hear what you think. Let's not wait another minute. Let's get Amanda in here, and I am just so pumped to introduce you to her. Amanda Lynne, I am so excited to be hanging out with you here today. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Amber. I love hanging out with you. Really love it.
Same. In fact, I've been thinking about you so much lately, in part, this probably brought to my conscious because we have this call on the calendar to dive into this podcast episode and share your incredible processes with everyone who's listening, but also because I work your work in my life, and I was on fire with things unlocked and manifesting for weeks. And then I got stuck. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to dive in with Amanda on this, because we know that so many people are feeling stuck around things, and the old way of doing things isn't going to work anymore. And you've got some unique ways to help people manifest and unblock. Can you tell us a little bit about your work?
Yeah, I'd love to. And yeah, you are part of my processing community of people, and you're not alone in getting to this point where you just hit a roadblock and need a little bit more of a deep dive. So hence why I do all the extra stuff. There's the self-guided brain rewiring model, and then there's a supported brain rewiring model where you come along and have sessions or classes with me. So let me talk about what I do. So I've been manifesting with brain rewiring since 2012. And I did it because I myself knew a lot more about the mindset and kinesiology. I've been a kinesiologist since 1999. I knew a lot better than to let my mind get into traps around past stories, present traumas, past traumas, but it got to me. And so what I did was I had two friends show up in the same week and say to me, Amanda, you know better than this, than to let your mind go down this rabbit hole. Why are you not using kinesiology to work through your stuff, to shift your consciousness, to raise your vibe? I mean, these people had been clients, they became friends, neither of them were really connected. So they were just, I'm thinking, okay, there's two signs from the universe in 1 week. I better do something. Now, I was pretty unwell at the time.
Okay.
Which was part of how the model came to be, right? Because I was very sick.
Mm-hmm.
I had fibromyalgia. I wasn't far away from getting stage 3 breast cancer. And it all had come for me from a place where my stress and my trauma had got to me, and they got to my cells and my body. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, I could do self-guided testing and kinesiology on myself, but I don't really have the energy most days or the health most days to do that. So I got into the cupboard, dragged out my old books, hadn't been doing it for so long because I had to set it aside for health reasons, and started to muscle test and surrogate test what did I need to shift these blocks, to shift this deep anger, resentment, powerlessness from me.
What you referred to testing. What is this surrogate testing, the muscle testing that you're speaking of?
Okay, so muscle testing is what kinesiologists use as their main modus operandi to actually access from a person's brain, from their nervous system, information that is unconscious, subconscious, locked in the body. Essentially, they bring the unknown to the known to be balanced, released, and resolved. Kinesiology is pretty good at working that fairly quickly. So muscle testing relies on simple 2 pounds of pressure onto a muscle for 2 seconds for no more than the pressure you might put on your eyeball. And we test different muscles in the body. Some people use self-testing, which is how I do a lot of my work. And also we use muscles on the human body to test where is somebody's stress. And we also put hand modes on, mudras, if you like, which we classically know as mudras, but kinesiologists have their own sign language. So if they put on a mudra, say the brain, and do a muscle test, they're going to access an area of stress in that space and then know where to go with the client.
To get to this information. So in the muscle testing process, something is coming out of our subconscious. And how do you know through muscle testing? You're putting 2 pounds of pressure on, and what do you experience to review for 2 seconds? Okay. And what do you feel? What do you experience to get the data from our subconscious?
If we're testing on a client, we experience a release in the muscle. So we're looking for a lock or muscle integrity. So this is going to look a bit funny here, but a lock or muscle integrity, or an unlock and no integrity. So we can talk to somebody on our table or in online sessions, because energy is energy, right? And surrogate testing is a really good way to reveal that. And we can ask the body, what's this stress? We can speak verbally. We can use our hand modes, we call them, to access areas of the body, the brain, the mind, the energy field. And that unlock tells us where to go next. And it's so very, very cool.
It's so cool. Okay, thank you for describing what that was. And I'm sure there may be people listening who are like, okay, wait, what? I need to know more, but roll with it as we move through this episode and this conversation, because you can always dig in more outside of this. But Amanda, we got to get back to your story because this work is so powerful.
Sorry. Yes, we do. And on my YouTube, and on my YouTube channel, there's lots about what is kinesiology, eye movements and kinesiology. Okay?
Love it.
So, love it, right? They can always have a look in there. So what occurred back in 2012 was I started muscle testing myself against all my manuals of all my training that I'd ever done in kinesiology. And what kept coming up is what we call a correction. So in kinesiology, we have a muscle test that shows the integrity of or non-integrity of a stress factor to a person, bringing the unknown to the known so it can be released. And then we look for the solution. What's going to balance this person? Is it rubbing, tapping, affirmations, exercise? In our case, in kinesiology, and I'm going to speak to my work now, eye movements, auditory processing are one way that we can release blocks that are in the brain, that are in the mindset, in the consciousness. Now, many people say to me, oh, it sounds like EMDR. Yeah, it is like EMDR, Kinesiologists have been using eye movement-based kinesiology since 1982. EMDR came about in 1985. Before we got onto it, NLP started it in 1979. So it's a really powerful tool for us. So getting back to how the processes were developed, I then went through and created processes over a period of about 6 months that would release my mindset, and different eye movements came up as what I had to do. Now I go back to, I was unwell. I really wasn't in a place to be doing this stuff on myself every day. So at the end of what I was to come up with my very first process, so how am I going to apply this to myself? Then I thought, I love meditating. If I do a meditation and make it a meditation process with the eye movements inside it, locking in the kinesiology mudras or hand modes, if you like, into the circuit, into the system like an energy portal, then I can do it every day on myself.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of things in here. You mentioned the eye movements, which I know because I've completed the processes that the eye movements are integrated into. And so we've got eye movement happening inside a process. What is the process experience?
So the process experience is, think of meditating. When you're meditating, right, the idea is you become mindful and you relax. The issue is how many of us can't stop this from being busy or thinking about problems or thinking about the past. We can't quieten the mind monkey.
Yeah.
Okay. So in processes, the eye movements and the auditory processing that is going on inside each of the kinesiology meditation processes, and they last from 17 to 22 minutes, depending on which color you choose, allow you to rewire, unlock, defuse, change the neural pathway to what it is we are so damn well stuck on. And as you know, they work from the very first time you use it.
Yeah, they do. I have been using Amanda's processes for about a year now. And when I'm feeling a block, when I'm feeling an energy drain, when I am feeling distracted or foggy or pain, there are so many reasons and spaces where I tap right in to a process. And I talk about it very much like meditation. I'll tell my family, or, I'll post my morning routine, and I call this meditation. But it is a very different type of meditation experience because we're engaging that eye motion process element. And it's so effective. Oftentimes when I am doing a process, I'm meditating inside the process, I fall asleep. There was one time, and typically that's what would happen. I'd fall asleep, I'd wake up right as it's ending. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm reset. But there was one time a few weeks ago, which I mentioned to you, that I did 3 processes in a row. I did not fall asleep. I was very present. Now, at the end of the 3rd process, I was like, okay, now I am ready to go again. But it was fascinating to me because it was such a different experience than my typical. I'm like, I needed 3 in a row. And I was working through some stuff.
That's right. Can we share the chart on the screen?
Yes, we can share the chart on the screen.
Okay to do that while we have a little chat about why that happens.
Yeah, that'd be
because
great.
That's an important question.
Yeah,
and we did talk about it, but what about everyone else out there that are processing, that want to know why?
why we're stuck. Why is it taking longer to move through something? And even if you don't have the context yet of, okay, what are these processes? We're going to show you, we're going to walk you through them. But yeah, why? Sometimes it takes longer to clear something that's got us stuck. When the other reason, Amanda, I'll let you pull up that chart. You should have
let's have a go at that.
Perfect. And the other thing that is so critical is manifesting. If there's something that we desire, something that we know is meant for us, that we feel the call, the sort of right on time nudge to go after, this accelerates our progress and our ability to move toward that thing that we desire. So Amanda, you've got the chart up and we'll talk it through for anyone who's listening and not watching. But tell us what's going on here in this beautiful rainbow looking chart so people can visualize it while you listen too.
I sure will. So basically, up at the top, we can see the whole chart, can't we?
Mm-hmm.
So up at the top in the white and the violet are high vibration emotions. Now, as we know, you want to talk about manifesting, okay? Abraham Hicks says thought equals form, right? Behind our thoughts, there's an emotional charge. Some emotions are high vibrating and are powerful manifesting magnets. The ones in the violet and the white are those. The issue is we get stuck beneath the violet in these emotions, in the 6 processes and the different process colors. So why does that happen? We have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of them, many of them, are just useless debris. And so many of them are attached to emotions and dramas and stories and traumas or unmet desires. So if we've got that many thoughts a day, that's about 2,500 per hour.
Wow.
And we're not managing our emotional magnetism to those thoughts when we go down beyond and below the violet, we're going to have a law of retraction and not a law of attraction.
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah? So we end up having, for example, show me the colour you had struggles with, my love.
Oh my gosh.
The one that you had to do 3 times. Remind me of that.
It was orange. And it was specifically the burden and the fear.
Yeah. Okay. So for you, clearly, you're here to co-create the life you want to live, to manifest your life path, to get on it and be on it. To do it, we have to remain in this high zone emotional frequency. Sure, things come along that are tricky to manage, but when we deal with processes, we're able to reach in, identify the emotion we're having, rewire it, taking that stress focus away from the back part of our brain in the posterior cingulate cortex into the prefrontal cortex where we have reasoning. This posterior cingulate cortex, that's the area when stressed, rehashes old stories, old wounds.
Yeah.
And it's that area when we meditate that when we're meditating, we're doing it properly, we're coordinating the overflooding here to become coordinated and regulated back to the frontal area where we can plan and reason and get back onto our life path, what we're here to do. Okay. However, how many times do we come to a meditation to try to calm that down or become mindful and go look at a flower to try, I'm in the Zen, I'm in the Zen, I'm in the Zen. But this mind is just rehashing old stories. And that's what happened to you when you needed to come and do the orange. Does this make sense to your experience?
It makes a lot of sense. And even as I think about throughout the day, my vibration can change throughout the day. Like this morning, I did not get enough sleep last night. It was a hard morning. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling things. I've got to get back up to the violet and the white space. And I was identifying, okay, how do I do that? Now, most days I'll meditate in addition to exercise, movement, reading. Like I've got a whole number of things that pull to shift my vibration. As we're thinking about this, Amanda, one other question that just came to mind is vibration. You know, there's this idea of high vibe, right? Keep your spirits up, think positively. But it's more than that, right? It's a frequency. Can you describe that?
Yes, I can describe that. Before I do, though, can we just go back to your question? Otherwise, I will miss that one, and I really want to get back into that. Is that okay?
Yes,
because I do want to get to the vibe, because it's actually going to answer your question as well. So when your brain is flooded, or your limbic system's taking over, or your posterior cingulate cortex is rehashing old stories, you're going to be in a process colour thread of emotions that are underneath the violet. In your case, it was the orange of burden and fear. So we wire that by doing a process, listening to the process, moving our eyes in certain directions at a pace that is comfortable for you, so that you can rewire those emotions. So when you need to do 2 or 3, it's because the deep unconscious, subconscious, unknown to the known story is long-term for you. It's been trapped in there for a long time. It's rehashing. It's stuck. Hence the part of the brain I just discussed. Okay? So in my research with this material, I've come to discover 12 different eye positions, and they advance upon the eye positions used by kinesiologists in their work since 1982. So those 12 eye positions, when I come to creating the processes, working with clients, and watching where their eyes move when they talk to me, I know exactly from my research, advanced upon that of other kinesiologists, what's really locked up in them.
Wow.
So I kind of can't go anywhere, Amber, because everybody's like, can you stop analysing my eyes? Can you stop muscle testing me?
I love it. I'm all for it. Like, yeah, tell me anything. Tell me anything you see.
Yeah, you're right there. So let me get back to your original question. Vibration. Vibration is emotion, okay? When we are, if you want to talk law of attraction, when we are in the upper realms of the high vibrational frequencies that are available and attainable in the universe, we're in what we call the monadic and the divine layers of consciousness, of high consciousness, universal consciousness, okay? When we have our emotions up there, we're essentially up in the white and the violet on the chart. Anywhere else underneath that, we're starting to come into the lower areas of the realm, the aura, some people call it, and it is that. And that in itself carries vibration. Electrons, neutrons, protons, energy, electricity, and thought and emotion is electricity. You would have heard of emotion, energy in motion, okay? So when we're down in here, you could think of somebody, for example, if we look at process red, who feels no choice, powerless, shock. Where are they? They're deep, generally in their stuff, feeling that they can't get out, trapped. It's hard to move out of that space in the mind, let alone manifest our way out of an entangled relationship or a toxic workplace or a financial block when our emotions are low down in the vibration.
Yeah.
Makes sense? When we're in the orange, we can be depressed or sad or grief, and I'll talk to those emotions because they're the ones that keep us in bed under the covers, hiding from the world, not getting our stuff out there, okay?
Yeah.
It's kind of in that realm that we might see the manifestation of headaches, backaches, right? Things that stop us and hold us back. If we're getting into the yellow, we're talking more about the unworthiness. So we're talking about like this whole like attracts like. We start to show up a little bit in the world, but we're not really attracting relationships that are supportive of our worth and our value, because way back in our consciousness is shame and blame, and we're locked in there. So as we go up the chart, we're seeing higher vibration emotions. So if we look at the blue, for example, anger, resentment, hatred, those are the emotions that empower a person to get out of bed. Because to move from depressed into anger, to get out of depressed, we've got to have a bit of power behind it, right?
Oh, interesting.
So anger is a higher vibration emotion.
It's interesting because on the chart, there's this sequence and you're moving up into emotion, and I can absolutely see how something like anger would propel you to take some sort of action. And so I'll do my process orange meditation, like, oh, I'm ready to go. So it's not like you have to go through these rungs. You can skip from orange to like, all right, I'm feeling it. I'm violet, I'm white. And can you feel things simultaneously? Like throughout my day, I regularly experience joy and gratitude and immense appreciation. And then something like I feel all of those things, and I also feel the fear and the burden. So can they live in the same space in the same moment?
Yeah, of course they can. You know, it's like a personality inside a household.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Multiple
And the household is your mind.
Yeah.
So if you've got up 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and many of them are attached to emotion, some positive, some low vibration, some high vibration, if you like, positive or negative, right? We have up to 27 emotions in a day. Now, the chart covers 35. We've got you covered.
Yeah.
So, yes, emotions coexist. The reason that they can coexist is because we're still fluctuating emotionally. We've still got areas in our brain that are wired and stuck in spaces that haven't been resolved yet. Now, the brain is plastic, right? Now,
Tell us more about that.
Tell you more about that. So we talk about the plasticity of the brain. I'd like to probably refer to some clay, because let's do brain rewiring 101, right? So that people don't hear all these brain terms and switch off, because it's such a big space.
Yeah.
So if we talk about clay, plasticity and clay can be molded. And if we don't like what we've created, we can slam it down and mold it again, or remold another one, or sculpt the pot, okay? When we talk about neuroplasticity, we're talking about the plasticity of neurons in our brain that can be molded, a bit like clay can be molded, rewired. We have trillions of neurons in our brain, and they can be rewired. They become prone because we get stuck in thoughts that are either helpful or not. So when we're motivated, we become more and more and more motivated because our brain wiring has become more impacted there, more stronger, more molded. But what if we were stuck in a trauma from when we were 5? What if we were stuck in this marriage that happened that was just so disappointing? What if we're fearing the future? What if we're worried about money? So many people worry about money, or fear it, or feel burdened by it, or feel angry about it, or jealous that other people have got something they don't have. Money's got huge money emotion attachments to it. Massive.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting back, we can shape our thoughts, but we have to, like the potter, say to ourselves, you know what, that pot that I'm trying to build isn't going where I want it to go. I need to change the shape of it. Hence the chart. That beautiful manifestation that I want to do, such as the business I want to do, we'll talk to that, isn't going to mold where I want it if I've got a lot of orange emotions attached to it. So I'm going to get into the processes. I'm going to change and shape and rewire my brain and change and mold where my thoughts go. And in that, we become stronger. That's why when you do a process and you trust the process and you leap up the chart, as you've explained, from origin to violet, right? You suddenly just go, oh my goodness, I feel so much more expansive. And you just get on with your day. Now, isn't that better than doing 17 minutes of mind stories or 17 minutes of complaining to somebody about something that's going on? Be the master of your destiny. Your emotions are there and they are enablers of where you want to take your life.
So good.
Is that helpful?
It's incredibly helpful. And you've touched on something, take 17 minutes, take 22 minutes. And because you speak about how this does not have to take a long time. So what is the speed factor as we think about all right, I want to shortcut my path to get there. I got my vision board up. We were talking about vision boards collecting dust and dreams sort of just sitting there. How do I get there? This can shortcut that process. How does that work?
My word, it can. It works because in the law of attraction, thought equals form. If you want to manifest certain thing in your life, but you've got all this emotional tendency behind it. So say we want to manifest a business, but we've grown up in a core conditioning where we were shamed and blamed and made to feel unworthy. But we've moved past it, or so we say, held it together enough to get back on with our lives and be functional. But when we go to show up again and somebody throws that unworthy statement our way or makes us go back to some old wiring that's really hardwired in there from way back, it's going to slow that manifestation down.
Amanda, you said something in there that made me think of something that comes up for so many people as they're stepping into something different in their lives, and that's imposter syndrome. Would you say that that typically falls in that yellow space?
Can do. It depends on whether they are being an imposter, are they?
Okay.
And if they are, they need to question that, and they need to say, okay, if I'm feeling this, am I really where I'm supposed to be with my life path? Because if it's glitchy and if it's clunky and processes aren't shifting it, you better re-examine if you're not in alignment with where you're supposed to be.
So good. I read an interesting analogy the other day on alignment, and they described it in this story as a bicycle. And you want your bicycle to go forward and smooth. And if the wheel is turned sideways, it's going to be tricky. Or if the handlebars are twisted. I don't know why my handlebars on my real bikes here are always getting twisted, right? So this analogy was so clear to me. I'm like, oh yeah, we're driving to the left so we can make sure we go straight because the handlebars are all, out of alignment. So if you're feeling that misalignment, any amount of process may not help. Is that true?
Well, it won't help if you need to be on a different bike, Amber.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just on the wrong bike.
On the wrong bike, which is, oftentimes, so many times we know, something feels off. This is where I want to be going, but I'm on this path. How do I change paths? And what I find in some of the work that we've actually done together is, why aren't you switching paths? If this is what you know you want, if this is what you know is aligned for you, but you're on the wrong bike, okay, let's process to identify how we're going to get you to that other bike.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because why do people stay where they are? Why do people stay? It doesn't mean that a business you've done or a marriage you've had or a friendship you've had or a family connection you have haven't served its purpose. Sometimes, as we know, milk expires.
Mm-hmm.
And when the milk expires, we throw it out and we just refresh it. But we don't do it when it comes to our own lives and our goals and where we're heading. And we don't do it because we get comfortable. Oh, that's what I've always done, so that's what works. That's all I know. But behind all that is a whole heap of emotional charge. So you might want to ask yourself, or a person in this experience might want to say, how do I feel about this experience right now? How do I feel about being over there in my life? And if they say, right now, I feel frustrated that I'm in this business or this marriage or this family unit that's just no longer serving me because I've grown out of my skin, if you like, then you do that process, blue.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling powerless that I can't move to my next step, then you do process red. Because if you believe in the law of attraction, that manifestation is possible through the value of high vibration thoughts attached to high vibration supportive emotions that reach the divine and magnetic level of the universal forces that are around us, then you process your gunk, you do the process, you trust the process, you be in the vibe, you're in the vibe. How many times, Amber Bub, have you done a process and gone, wow, I feel so violet, I feel so expansive, and then within an hour or 2 days or a day, boom, what was blocked has just fallen in.
Yeah. Drops right back in. Yeah.
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 I mean, I've helped people sell houses that have been long-term debt collectors for them. I've helped people shift out of unsupportive relationships, move big financial blocks because it's all stuck in their mindset. And the deeper in, the longer it's there, the more processes you'll need. And then you reach this point where you go, I'm now living the process life. I'm in the vibe, I'm in the flow, I'm moving through, I'm manifesting with brain rewiring. I can check the chart when I feel the glitch, I can identify it, and up I go again. And back on.
I have another question of something that comes up for me and may come up for other people as well. And it's this feeling of, I've got high energy, I've got joy flowing, I've got empowerment, and I've got all of the violet and white feelings like flowing, but it feels frenetic, or it feels like, whoa, like I could move into hustle mode, or I could power through because I just have so much momentum, but it doesn't feel organized or focused.
That excitatory energy just needs to be coordinated across the brain. And that's when people use their other tools. I'm only the debris removal. I am the collector of debris through processes, shift out the junk, because then you get guided to other things that will keep the energy high. So in your case, if yoga settles your excitatory nervous system after processing old stories, you do some yoga. If holding a crystal, if going for a walk, if going for a bike ride on the right bike, okay, with love and light, walking a dog, whatever it is that helps calm the nervous system, to recalibrate it, to coordinate it, okay? Processes are about, because when you're in that deep, deep emotional density and the debris and you're in that funk, right? It takes a process to shift out. And then you go, wow, I feel so good. And I can hear you. You don't want to overpower it. You want to manage that energy. You want to use it and integrate it effectively. move it into a place where it will be integrated. But if you're too excited, you're going to need to calm the nervous system down. Let the body catch up a little bit.
That's incredible. So well described, because there's a spectrum of emotions, right? As we talked about, like, okay, crawl into bed, all the way through to let's go, I'm feeling all of it. But what do I do with this? Harness that. For me today, it was hopping in the pool and swimming. And I was swimming and doing laps, and I totally got into like a flow and a meditative space. I'm like, oh, okay, I have to get out and write. And that was such incredible alignment. But it took a minute to move through that. And I had space to allow that to play out today. But I don't always have that, which is why the processes are so helpful. And to your point, some structures in place, like questions, a little self-coaching. Okay, you've got this energy. What's the most important thing right now? Like pulling it through. How can you best use this energy? Sometimes I'll just ask some questions to guide and focus that energy. Yeah. And I'm grateful to hear how that pulls to the rewiring that we're doing. That can be turned into productive energy. This is beautiful. Amanda. Oh, yeah.
Can I add one more thing into there? Can I stop this screen share now?
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing into there? We are 70% water. Water is a great conductor. It's a fantastic conductor of emotional energy.
Wow.
All right.
Bath, shower, swim, water the garden.
Yeah.
Wow.
If that's where you coordinate and recalibrate after doing a process to settle yourself, settle the sediment, if you like, then it will integrate.
So cool. Amanda, I love your work. I feel there is so much here. We covered so incredibly much. And every time we talk, it's solidified. More and more and more is solidified. And even through listening, I know things are rewiring and I'm having greater understanding, and things will continue to come with more ease. For people who are wondering, like, all right, let me try this process thing. Let me go align what I'm feeling with the right process right now. Where do people find you?
They go to my website, Eye-Motional So I've put it up on the screen. On the chart. It's I with an apostrophe motional. Pretty cool, right? Processes.
Yeah.
I've got two websites. One's got the meditation processes inside that. The other one has my courses and my classes, and I also teach kinesiology practitioners internationally how to use this with their clients.
Oh my gosh. Amanda, if someone is thinking like, oh, I'm interested in kinesiology, what is the practice and the approach that people go through to learn more about that?
Gee, I get that question a lot lately.
Wow.
And I'm asked a lot lately to run courses in teaching people kinesiology, but I've become a specialist in kinesiology, and I really want to focus my time in taking qualified kinesiologists or kinesiology students into the new realm of eye movement-based kinesiology, where the brain is rewired. That's my model. But I would say to people in their country, every country has a different level of practitioner registration requirement. In my country, it's Certificate 4 or diploma. In other countries, you can do Touch for Health. You can do that here too. There's different models of kinesiology, and I would say to people who want to come along and do kinesiology and at least get the basics in muscle testing, so they've got a model to use that they can rely on. And I know you're a muscle tester.
I do, just privately, just for myself. Yeah.
Just for yourself. And that's what I'm talking about. And I have a lot of people who use muscle testing for the chart of emotions.
Yeah.
So, but to answer that question, I would say go find a kinesiology course in your area. Now, there's two types of kinesiology. There's the injury-based physiological kinesiology, which we see a lot in the States, which is sports, and there's a real area for that. And then there is what I work in and other kinesiologists work in, which is the triad of health, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual.
So beautiful.
So it's that model of kinesiology that would support where somebody would want to eventually end up in my work. But on my YouTube channel, on my eye movement-based kinesiology video, there's some stuff in there about it too.
Oh my gosh, incredible. I encourage anyone who is curious about this to get on over to Amanda's site. I recommend the full process. You know, I sit in a couple specific processes most frequently when I need to process something out, but I have all of the processes so that anytime something comes up, I'm ready to go because it is such a shortcut to getting back into a joyful, flowing, productive, feel good space.
Oh, that's correct. I do want to say one thing though, Amber, on that, is that grief is an area when somebody dies and there's a loss. That essentially grief should be integrated so that we can live with that grief and that loss and integrate that person into what would be a connection of some sort that we may want to have, be it lighting a candle, praying, having other types of etherical connections with that person. The reason I raise this is because when people come into processing and they're dealing with grief, and I get this a lot, and they might have had a fairly sudden loss or a very long-term loss, I do say, yes, processing will help you to recalibrate, to reintegrate back into your world. But firstly, let's get that connection started up. So on my website, I do have a micro summit where I've invited, it's free, 7 speakers to come and speak to. How do we make a connection with a loved one who's passed? Now, that may sound very spiritual, very woo-woo, but it isn't. All of those speakers have got something different to add, okay? And I just want to add that in because I don't want people to think, oh, I'm grieving and I've just lost somebody in a tragic way or through cancer and I can use Process Orange. Yes, you can, but let's get that connection stabilised. Let's support some of that model. I think it's important I say that.
I love that you said that because there's so much going on and you have so many resources, tools to approach and integrate and weave all of the elements of our life. That's actually one of the things I find most comfort and joy in working with you is this happened, it's happening. It happened, it's happening. How do we navigate it? And there are a lot of different ways to navigate it, and you help pull that through, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh, thank you, Precious. And I've been so grateful for our connection. Like, it's been such a spectacular, I manifested Amber in my life.
Same. It's so beautiful. It's so right on time. I'll definitely have to tell everyone that story because, there's such good stuff there. We were blown away the first time we met Amanda inside a Planathon VIP session. I'll dig into that because it was right on time in so many ways.
Yeah, it was.
You're such a gift. Everyone zip on over to a little like minus sign on the keyboard, motionalprocesses.com. I'll put that link in the show notes and under the video, wherever you're watching, we'll get you the link. But if you're feeling a nudge to step into a process, really guided, holistic, if you were to define the processes in one sentence, what would be the sentence?
My motto: find freedom, experience joy, embrace love, create empowerment.
That feels good. Go
with your manifest with brain rewiring processes.
Manifest with brain rewiring. If you want to manifest something, if you're feeling a little calling and a nudge to rewire something, Amanda's got you. Let us know how it goes. Thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hanging out with you was just awesome.
You're the best. Thanks for staying up so late. Mwah! I pretty much have the best news ever. Amanda Lynne is going to be joining us inside Stay Golden every month, where she will host a vision share and reveal and release your unique personal blocks, which lurk under the surface and hold you back from living the life you really want. Amanda is newly hosting these vision share workshops every single month inside of Stay Golden. It is a sad reality that only 8% of people actually reach their goals. Not inside Stay Golden. We are obsessed with you getting what you want. The place to go to unlock motivation, focus, and follow through with a joyful, evidence-based approach to make achieving your goals practically inevitable is inside Stay Golden. And with Amanda's help, you are going to accelerate you moving towards your goals. Amanda is our brain rewiring coach. She's a qualified international kinesiologist, aromatherapist teacher, and the founder and creator of Eye-Motional Processes, meditation processes that combine eye movement and auditory processing. Her processes hold the key to manifesting success, and I am so pumped to be bringing this with you and sharing in this experience with you inside Stay Golden. Every time I see Amanda in action working with someone, every time I have worked with Amanda in our private one-on-one sessions, big things are unlocked and the way forward is clearer every single time. Join us inside Stay Golden and join us in the upcoming all new vision shares inside the Stay Golden experience. I will see you there.